For the second year in a row, the Ed White chapter of the Northeast Florida Boys and Girls Club produced the Florida Youth of the Year. Here to tell us about it is Wyatt Parlette. He's the Vice President of Operations for Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida. Good morning, Wyatt.
Good morning.
We are also joined by this year's winner, Caleb, the Youth of the Florida Youth of the Year 2025. Congratulations, Caleb.
Thank you so much.
And sitting right next to Caleb is Nico, who is the 2024 winner, who also went on to win the national, the regional, and then the national youth of the year. Welcome. Nice to meet you, Nico.
Nice to meet you as well. Good morning.
And congratulations also. So, Caleb, you are going to be graduating soon.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're going to be competing for regional youth of the year, which is kind of the next step after winning Florida Youth of the Year. Can you just tell us a little bit about the significance of this recognition to you personally?
Yes, ma'am. So to come from the Boys and Girls Club, I come from Edward H. White High School and actually be a friend of Nico's and see what he went through last year with the Youth of the Year competition. To understand that Youth of the Year is the biggest program in my club, and we basically have an honor to be a Youth of the Year for my club. Not only coming from Jacksonville, Florida, but represent the whole state of Florida, and now going to Atlanta, Georgia, where it's actually the Boys and Girls Club headquarters to compete against 20 other states. It's such a surreal moment to understand where I come from and help to understand every youth to teach them that your path doesn't define your future.
Tell us a little bit about your path. I mean, how did you get involved in the Boys and Girls Clubs in the first place?
So actually, if no one's ever heard Nico's speech before, his speech he talks about the barbershop program in our club, how he became a barber in our club, and I actually was one of those kids that got a haircut from him. Actually, my earliest memory, I was a ninth grader that didn't know about the Boys and Girls Club. I was very uncertain, and I didn't even know what was the Boys and Girls Club had to offer. But Nico said, "Come in the club, let me give you a haircut for free." He gave me a haircut, but it was bigger than the haircut. The barbershop program became like a room and an atmosphere where I found brotherhood, mentors, people like Mr. Starks, was just a father figure in my life now, people like Nico, which is like a brotherhood. And me growing up as the only child, I never knew the power of community until I sat in those chairs.
That's great. And so, Nico, when you first reached out to Caleb, what were you thinking? Was it, this is a kid that could use some help, some participation? He just needs a haircut. Like, what was your
Well,
driving motive there?
to be honest, I was actually looking for like students to practice on, and most students had to ask their parents to get a haircut, and some weren't too sure because I didn't have my barber's license, and I was just a random student, also one of their peers. I'm only a grade like above Caleb, so like most students didn't want to get their haircut by me. But speaking to Caleb, he was actually very open to getting a haircut, and we sat down and we just talked for hours because the haircut did take a couple of hours because I just started off, and we realized that we had a lot in common. We realized that we both were very driven. We have similar backgrounds. Like you said, if you heard my speech, we talked about like domestic violence and dealing with like finding like a father figure and stuff like that. And I feel like we both have similar problems that we had to overcome in life. And when he sat down in that chair, I spoke to Caleb and I was like, dude, like just keep going. Like your past does not define your future. Like I didn't really explain where I came from, but he explained where he came from. And I just saw myself in him. I was just like, your past does not define who you are. Keep going. Everything that you want will come to fruition if you keep trying. And now look at him, man. I'm so proud of him. Like it's so like full circle to be sitting here at this table with Mr. Wyatt, who I met first after doing a tour, and Caleb, who I met sitting in the barbershop where I ended up making a living for myself, and then I end up actually becoming the National Youth of the Year because of interactions like that.
And it's an extraordinary story. Can you, for people who haven't heard your testimony, kind of like tell us how you got involved in the club in the first place, and then sort of why you got involved in the barbershop program too?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. Born and raised in like Marietta, Acworth, like all around Georgia. And dealing with like domestic violence and stuff growing up after I moved back to Jacksonville, it was pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't want to be at home. I didn't feel at home. I didn't feel like I could be myself just because I felt like I always had to bite my tongue in order for the greater good of my family. But I'm coming to the Boys and Girls Club. Like I found a space where I could be myself, where I could grow, where I could feel like everybody around me had the best interest in mind for me. And that's why I joined the Boys and Girls Club. To be honest, I remember sitting in my leadership class, and we walked in to talk about the Boys and Girls Club and who we could become. And I was like, man, I just want to play video games because I heard they had a game room, and then she spoke about the barbershop and stuff like that. And at first, they didn't even have a barber in the barbershop. But after a couple conversations with her, she's found out that I had a passion, or I just wanted to learn. I was so eager to learn how to cut hair, and she actually went and found a professional barber for me. Jake, if you're watching this, man, shout out to Jake, man. He was a very like a huge pillar in like my success as a student and even my growth as a young man, growing into being the young man I am today. And sitting in that barbershop and learning how to cut hair was one of the best decisions I ever made. Like it created so many different connections that I never would have had. Like if I never was cutting hair, I probably would have never became like as close as with Caleb as I am, or even had opportunity to grow in my Boys and Girls Club, because that became a place where students would just come and sit down and have conversations and get to know me as a person outside of everything that I was doing in school. And it just became a place where I wanted more students to come as well. Like hence why like bringing students into the barbershop and just having them like come and sit and get a free haircut. Like I just wanted more students to be involved in what the great work that Boys and Girls Club was doing.
And so have you given Caleb some advice as he's heading down this, path now to be competing for first regional and then, fingers crossed, national youth of the year?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I mean, if everybody doesn't know, Caleb's also the seventh Mr. Ed White High School as well, and I was the sixth Mr. Ed White High School. So like
Oh,
going through
wow.
that process before Youth of the Year, I saw the spark in him. Like he's always had it in him. Like I don't think anybody could take credit for who Caleb is today because Caleb's just Caleb. Like you don't come across another Caleb. But seeing that potential in him like during the pageant and then going into Youth of the Year, I sat down with Jimmy last summer. I was like, dude. I know he's not like always in attendance because he's doing the pageant right now, but man, give him some time. Like Jimmy was like, if he comes in the summertime, I'll give him opportunity to be Youth of the Year. And I look at him, man, like he won state, he's going to regionals, like
It's been a surreal moment.
So what is
exactly.
it what is it what does the competition involve for people who aren't familiar? How do you present? What do you do? How do you actually compete for this title?
So you compete from getting nominated from your club. So in my Boys and Girls Club, when we had a national Youth of the Year winner at every HY high school, everyone in the school was like, I want to be Youth of the Year. So our unit director, he makes sure that every kid in our club has the opportunity to be Youth of the Year. So go through a process. We have 3 essays and give a 3-minute speech about your Boys and Girls Club experience and what you learned through the Boys and Girls Club. After that, you get judged. Then you get nominated to go on to the city level. So we have 59 clubs in the region. So we're Boys and Girls Club Northeast Florida. So then I competed in the city level against other clubs. Then I went to city level where I got judged again. The state level was a little different. I went against, I want to say, 15 or 20 other states from around Florida, but this time you get judged twice. So the first round of interviews, you do your first round of interviews against the other 15 peers. Then the second day, they let you know if you made the Final Four. Then the Final Four this year was in Tallahassee during Advocacy Week in front of the whole United States Chamber in Tallahassee, and that's where we gave our speech at.
Wow, that must have been a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, but in my club, we kind of advocate for kids advocating for themselves. Like, actually, we have a Keystone Club group where we do many community service projects. Last week, we had an autism awareness walk for Autism Awareness Month, basically just advocating our Keystone Club, teaching young freshmen and sophomores, underclassmen about how to advocate and voice your opinion.
I feel like that is a big part in why you can go into these rooms and be confident in yourself because we're already being taught to advocate for ourselves and become the leaders that we are today. Like when you get to the competition, you're not really trying to add too much more to who you are as a person, but learning how to navigate in those spaces. And I feel like that's why Caleb has the confidence to go into the next level of competition and know that he has what it takes, or just know he's a very authentic person and he's capable.
And Nico, you're at, Florida State University?
Yes, ma'am. Go
Yes.
Noles.
All right. And, Caleb, you're gonna be planning on going to,
CAU, Clark Lane University.
that's right, yeah, next year, and so in Atlanta,
Actually, this summer, actually. This
oh, is that
summer.
right?
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
starting early.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Um, what are you're gonna be studying criminal justice, is
So
that?
I'll be majoring in psychology with a minor in criminal justice, accomplishing my goal of being a U.S. attorney. So I'll actually be admitted this fall, but during the summer, starting June 22nd, I have an internship job with Google Scholars Academy. Shout out to Dr. Stacy Robertson at Clark Lane University. I'll be majoring, studying my major while also having a job with Google headquarters, working there while living on Clark Lane's campus.
So and after Clark Atlanta, law school is ultimately what you wanna do.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, all
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Wyatt, I wanna bring you in, risk of overshadowing you here with these 2 stars. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in the clubs in the first place.
Yeah, so I was going to study art education, and one of my classes was teaching in diverse populations. And I had to choose a volunteer location that was diverse. They gave us a list, and you could choose from any of the locations. And I had been to the Boys and Girls Club as a child. We did taekwondo at the club at the beach. So it was really the only one I recognized on the list. And so I chose it to volunteer at. And when my volunteer hours were done, I fell in love with the mission, the movement. I mean, when you see young people like Caleb and Nico, and it just gave me a place too to grow as an adult. So I started out as a part-time staff while I was in school, and did pretty much every position up till now, vice president of operations.
And obviously, these are some very impressive kids that you are able to work with, and I'm sure it's pretty inspiring. For people who aren't familiar with the mission in of the clubs, though, I mean, what is the population that you are helping to bring in, and what kind of services do you offer?
Yeah, so we're working with the communities that need us most, with the families that need us most. So as Caleb said, 59 locations across Northeast Florida. So one of the big things is that we make sure every child that comes into the Boys and Girls Clubs has a meal. We feed them. We have academics, certified teachers are on site, making sure that they have all their academic needs met. And then we have enrichment. So Caleb had mentioned something like Keystone Club. Keystone Club is an enrichment program that provides leadership and entrepreneurial experiences for young people in the clubs. So anything from robotics to drones to youth leadership, sports and rec, that's our enrichment space, and that's where we really thrive. And so we want to make sure that the young people that come to our club are safe and they can learn and grow as young adults.
What is it, that you think is how would you attribute the fact that you've got these 2 recent winners from Ed White? It seems like an extraordinary kind of lightning strike.
So we had never won state before Nico. So this was all new for us when Nico came. I remember I was at the state competition and we were going nuts when Nico won state, and then we went to Atlanta for regional and national as well. And it was just an amazing experience. But it's these young people, right? We poured a lot into those leadership experiences. When you talk about something like the barbershop, that was new for us. So we sat our young people down and said, what do you want to see within your space? And we listened to them. So we started things like cosmetology and barbering and dance studios, and they have a photo lab now at Ed White. And we really just wanted to listen to them. So something like the barbershop was extremely important. So it is learning a trade, but it's also that kind of offline mentoring piece, right? So our barber can tell these young men how to go about life. Sometimes, if we're saying it as staff members, that it hits a little different with the barber, and when we're all saying the same thing, it's really a really cool mentor space for our young men. And that's really, I think, the secret sauce is really just listening to our young people, giving them a sense of belonging, and really listening to what they want with inside of their Boys and Girls Club.
And I would guess that the kind of see it, be it, I mean, now that you've got a winner, you can, sort of it's a great example that it's something that can be done, right,
Yes,
Caleb?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And so what is the actual, like, shape of the next level of competition? Who do you go against in the regionals? How many people will you be competing against? Do you have sort of a different strategy, for lack of a better word, or is it just kind of like bringing your story to a different stage?
Yes, ma'am. So actually, we have our regional competition coming up June 12th, as our ceremony is, and conveniently in Atlanta, Georgia, where I'll be at for the summer. So actually, now I mentioned earlier how I went against 15 or 20 other cities. Now, since I'm representing state of Florida, I'll be going against states like state of Alabama, state of actual Georgia, and the states that are surrounding during the southeast region of America for Boys and Girls Club. So the competition, it does get harder, but coming from the club I come from, I have a great example of Nico, and being having the brotherhood and friendship that we have. He kind of helps me understand that the practice that I've been going through, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes a permanent lifestyle and builds that confidence in you to be poised and walk in these rooms with confidence that, yeah, I've been through this, but I came too far to give up now. So even when I'm in these moments where I feel nervous or I'm having nerve wracking or I have anxiety attacks, I like to think of where I came from and understand that my past doesn't define me, and I'm basically a generational anomaly, that I'm here for a reason. I have a purpose.
What advice are you giving him, Caleb, at this point? Or excuse me, Nico, at this point?
Well, I would like to say, like you said, if you could see it, you can be it. I remember my 10th grade year, my sister, she was a senior in high school. She actually she got second place at state at Youth of the Year, and I was like, wow, like that's my older sister. Like she went to Florida State as well. I followed her to Florida State, and just watching her go through that and watching how poised she was, and seeing how she gave so much glory to God, and singing the confidence that she had by giving glory to God. That's what I tell Caleb all the time. Like if it's going to happen, if it's written out for you, it'll happen. If it's not, it's not. You're going to be great regardless. You're going to Clark Atlanta University. You had a stellar year as a senior. Like you're like the face of almost the city. I like to think like Caleb he's been doing this big one. Like for real. Like in Jacksonville, he's really been the example of what you like, just being yourself. And that's the biggest part of Youth of the Year, being yourself and being able to go into these rooms and being authentically you without having to worry about anything else. Like that's the purpose of being the Youth of the Year.
Well, it is such a pleasure to meet both of you. Caleb, we wish you all the best
Thank
in the
you so
next round of
much.
competition. I'm sure you'll do terrific, and good luck at Clark Atlanta too.
Yes, ma'am.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
being here. Really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. Have a good one.
All